We're going to talk about the problem with making marriage the goal and what goes on in our minds and in our hearts and why this is a problem. Within the church, within ourselves, what we're taught. I mean, because we literally are taught that, like, literally once you grow up, you're supposed to get married.
Even if you decide to not get in a relationship and to stay single, find out what your purpose is with God. Find out what it is that He needs you to do. Find out what His will is for your life. When you're seeking a mate, or when you're looking into getting into a relationship with anyone, always figure out what it is that they're seeking. What is their vision? Your vision may be different from theirs.
I leave it on the kid to like decide what I am. Like my kids, they call me bonus dad, which is cool because I feel like I'm super dad because I'm everything that ain't. So I'm the one he wake up to. I'm the one that's taking him to school. I'm the one cooking. I'm the one going to get clothes. I'm the one cutting it. I'm the one doing everything. So I'm not trying to take your title. Only way I can take your title is you let me take your title.
Just heard you say these things and I just want to reiterate them. You talked about pleasing, and so I just want to tell you guys, excuse me, pleasing the Father should be one of your focus while you're single. Pleasing Him, this is how I say it, pleasing Him before Him, women, capital H before lowercase h, meaning another man. When you are pleasing the Father, you're focused on His will, His way, and you're doing things that bring glory to His name. And so that is not even pleasing yourself, your fleshly desires, your selfish desires that are ungodly, but that is literally doing things His way. And so you please the Father, not yourself or another person, a man or a woman. And then you talked about purpose. You were talking about worshipers. You come into your identity. You come into knowing who you are. So you're pleasing. You're learning how to please God. You're learning how to know who you are. So your purpose, you were placed here on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. So on purpose, with your purpose, you live that out.
Again, we're talking about our opinions. I'm going to wonder about standards. I'm going to wonder about what his idea of decent and in order is. Okay, mm-hmm. I'm going to wonder about, what is he looking for? And chances are that's not what we want. Not us, not 30 single and saved family members. Okay?
Come on, sis.
Ready.
Go ahead, ladies.
I need to hear this.
I'm the man of this house. Next question.
Here we go.
You know what? For real, I am the man of the house, and my wife allows me to be the head of the house because that's how God did things. But along with that, me being the head of the house don't mean I make all the rules. It don't mean I call all the shots. We do talk about what's going on. We do, we conversate, because if we don't conversate, you're going to have some mess going on. So, and I don't want that. I don't want her to feel like she's inferior, because that's not what the head of the household means.
It was just like she would recite Bible verses. Even though I had studied the Bible, I was just like, it was different. So I would have to literally go read what she said. And then so I could come back with a quick answer. But it was like, she did it so often, and it was just genuine. So then we started reading Bible
the Bible app, different Bible plans together.
Mm-hmm. And we started that, and that was starting my day. But it was like, I think because She had such a strong influence, and I knew that was her foundation. I knew if I wanted to be on the same accord with her, I had to get into what she loved. And if she loved God, I had to go back to him.
And that breakups, they are emotional roller coasters, right? Breakups are always emotional roller coasters. And why would you think that the healing process is any different, right? The healing process is going to be an emotional roller coaster, just like the breakup is, right? So it's not something that you can completely heal from overnight. It's probably gonna take more than just one night for you to heal, right? But you need to allow yourself the time and the space to heal. And what do I mean about the time and the space? Go through your healing process, because just like there are stages of grief, there are particular things that you're going to go through in your healing process. If you're being real with yourself, if you're being honest with yourself, there are things that you're going to go through in your healing process. There is no particular order. There is no particular time frame. So what do I mean about giving yourself the time and the space to heal? Don't put a time limit on it. Don't put a timeline on it. Don't say, well, by, we just broke up last week. By the end of July, you know what? I'm going to move on and I'm going to be dating again. No. You go through your process and don't rush your process, all right? Give yourself the space to heal. And what do I mean about the space? I mean that just because old dude is out, don't mean bringing another one in just because you met him and he had a nice smile. No.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of 36 Was Saved. Lord have mercy. I'm on live all week. Oh my goodness. So you guys excuse me, but thank you for joining us for another episode of 36 Was Saved. We got an awesome show lined up for you all, and I want you guys to do me a favor. Of course, I need you guys to hit that share button for me, all right? Sharing is free, so there is nothing that should keep you from hitting that share button. All right, support the ministry, and that is the way that you can support the ministry, is sharing this out. All right, you guys. And so we are excited because, as you can see, we have Mrs. Candice Chester with us on tonight. And you guys know this is my sis, man. Like, y'all just don't know. Y'all don't know the half. All right. But I thank and praise God for her being on, and we are going to give it over to her and allow her to introduce herself in just a moment. So I want you guys to make sure that you guys are sharing this out, but also say good evening to us. Let us know that you're here, that you're watching, that you're in the comment section. All right. We have an awesome show lined up for you all tonight. And we're going to be talking about some good stuff. All right. So we do want to say good evening to Kaya. Kaya's in the comment section. Good evening to you. Also, my mom is watching. Good evening, mother. And also Auntie Kim. Auntie Kim is in the comment section. Good evening to you. So I want to encourage you guys, as you come in, please make sure that you guys hit that share button and also let us know that you are watching. All right. And so, like I said before, tonight we have an awesome episode lined up, and so we have Candice Chester, who is with us. She is no stranger to 36 Was Saved. She has shared her wisdom with us numerous times, and we are so glad to have her back on to 36 Was Saved. And so welcome, Candice. Thank you for joining us on this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always excited to see your beautiful face and just kind of hang out with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Awesome. And likewise, I love having you on. And it's always a treat just to for you to come on and to speak to us and to share your wisdom with us. So thank you so much. And I also want to give you a chance, please, introduce yourself, or not really introduce yourself because we know who you are, but tell us a little bit about you, how we can support you as well, because we know that you have many business ventures going on. So please let us know how we can support you.
Okay. Well, my name is Candice Chester, and I am married to my husband, Lynn Chester. And then I know Lauren said we had a couple of businesses, so but we do have my husband is a barber, and so he does have his own barber suite. If you are in the Chicago area, he has a barber suite off of 95th and Western, where he cuts hair. He's been cutting hair for over 20 years. So he treats everyone like family. So just a great environment. It's just kind of come out, get your hair cut, and just network and just have a just a good time and relaxing time is what he tries to give to everyone. And then we also have our business, which is Take Your Life Back with Drink to Shrink, is our site. It's Drink to Shrink with Candice, and it is a detox drink, is what it is for the most part, but it's not one of those like short-term fad type diet drinks. It's packed with vitamins. It's 0 grams of sugar. It's all natural, and it is. It's amazing. It tastes delicious. So we do have a Facebook group that we is our platform for the most part, and then also at my husband's suite as well. But we have about 840 people in our Facebook group, and we just all kind of gather there and network, and we just use it to just kind of lift each other up and just we share different healthy tips and just share new flavors for Drink to Shrink. We have over 40 different flavors. And yeah, so we love it. We've been doing this now for almost 2 years. Time goes so fast. And we just continuing on as long as the people are asking for it, we're continuing the movement. So that's pretty much what we are doing. And then we have our family. We have 6 children, 3 of which are grown, 3 of which are at home. So all of which takes a lot of our time. So, but we love it, and yeah, that's pretty much us.
Awesome, awesome. And they have a beautiful family. And I am so blessed, oh my goodness, to be be a part of the family, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thank and praise God for Mr. and Mrs. Chester. And I did want to speak to something that you were saying. My order is on the way. So
Yes, it
I'm
is.
excited about my drink to shrink journey. And also Lynn, he not only cuts hair for the men that are watching, but also ladies, get your eyebrows done. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Like I called him up one day and I was like, look, I'm in town. Can you fit me in? And he fit me in. And I was like feeling myself with eyebrows, like just
Yeah, he has a lot of women clients too, even for hair. Like women have braids, different things. A lot of times, we got our, looks where we may cut part of the sides and different things, or just have low cuts. So he has a lot of women clients, probably more women clients than he has male clients. So yeah, so he's definitely great with that, great with kids, amazing with kids, as far as cutting their hair and just bonding with them, and it's just definitely more of an experience, and just he has multiple families like you just said, because he's watched kids grow up and have new families, and so that's definitely a big
yes.
part of it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I love how you all support one another.
Mm-hmm.
Your drink to shrink is right there in his business, and you guys are always supporting one another,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a blessing. So I really enjoy you all. You guys are one of my favorite couples, and that's not going to change anytime soon. All right. So I'm excited about tonight's show. 30 Single Say presents conversations you should have prior to marriage. And we're going to talk about it. So we have had some questions sent in. All right, you guys. And so I am excited. Those questions will remain, the sender will remain anonymous on tonight. So they're already uploaded and ready to go. But I do want to encourage you all, everyone that is watching. All right. You guys are more than welcome to use that comment section and ask any questions that you have. Also, engage in conversation with us. Let us know what your thoughts are on these particular questions that are being asked, and also what would your answers be as well. You guys know that we're in our question and answer series, all right, and so we continue to have those on the second and the fourth Tuesdays of the month, and so I do want to invite you all to be a part. And also, before we get started, this live is not, secluded to just the married couples. It is not just secluded to the singles. So I want you guys to all feel welcome and able to, engage in conversation with us. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Candice, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, here we go. The first question: how do you approach difficult conversations that need to be had?
So, so while married or prior to marriage, how are we doing that? Prior
Now,
to?
this sender didn't say either one, so I think since we're
Okay.
we're talking to prior to, let's do both. Can we do
Okay.
prior and while
Um.
married?
Okay. So I would say difficult conversations that need to be had prior to marriage. I would say definitely be open. Just try to have as much communication as possible. So never be afraid to approach any topic that may come to your mind or your heart, or, I definitely say pray. You should always have a prayer life and be praying daily and multiple times a day. So sometimes there may be some things that God may put on your heart too that needs to be a conversation. And those probably would be the more difficult conversations. But definitely I say approach it just more so with a list, just as a listener. A lot of times we go into something and we may have already had the conversation in our head on how we think it's going to go, and it goes completely different. And so because we've already kind of come up with that thought process, we're not really open to what the person may be saying, or open to their view. So we may have a question or have a conversation but already have an answer, and that's not the way to approach it. So I would say that, if it's a, especially if it's a difficult conversation, so just be open to it and don't just automatically, you know think because your answers are different that you're not right for one another, because that's part of it. That's part of becoming one, is you're one person and that person is one person, and then you complement one another, and then you come together as one. But that as one definitely does not mean that you're going to agree on everything. It means that God has chosen this person, or you're thinking, you're praying, you're hoping that this is the person, you're constantly asking God, is this the person that you have for me? That's definitely something you should be doing. But yeah, it should be, that's how it should be approached, is that I'm open to whatever they're going to say. And I know sometimes, a lot of times, you might hear people say like, oh, that's a deal breaker, or if this comes up, that's a deal breaker. And that's just, that's automatically going to block your communication, whether it's listening, because that's also a form of communication, or speaking about the situation.
I like that. You totally broke that down, and you talked about how coming to these conversations. Usually, you think about a conversation, you think about, okay, I speak and then you speak, and then I speak and then you speak. But you broke that down, and you were like, go in with a listening ear instead of thinking that how the conversation is going to turn out. And I love that you said that. And that's a different approach than just the regular, okay, I'm going in to have a conversation. So I love that if both people are actually going into the conversation with that intent to hear from the other person, then you actually can get an understanding from the other person. And I think a lot of times, in relationships, you have this premise of wanting to get your voice heard, more so than in just making sure that you're relaying what it is that you feel, because you don't want to do a disservice to yourself by not being able to express how you feel. But never thinking about, okay, well, let me try to take the time to listen and understand how this person feels, and in turn they're going to desire to want to hear what it is that I'm trying to say as well. So I
Mhm.
love that. Go in with a listening ear. I love it. The next question, is respect necessary in a relationship, or is love enough?
Um, Respect is definitely necessary in a relationship. No, love is not enough. So they go hand in hand. And I mean, we definitely know that from the scripture, Ephesians 5 um, definitely tells us that, that respect is necessary, love is necessary. And like when I saw this question, I was just like, oh my God, it literally triggered me. And so we literally have like a whole working interactive workbook, okay?
Wow,
Because
that's amazing.
it's a big thing. Love and respect is a big thing, and you have to understand what that means, what that looks like for you, and we had that workbook prior to getting married, is being able to understand that those are two things, including love, even though we think, oh, I want to marry this person, so love has to be involved. It is, but on what level? And then also what type of love? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about flesh? Are we talking about agape? What are we talking about? So it's definitely something that I personally think you have to work on constantly, and you have to constantly be open to um changing, getting better at it. Because it says it right there in the scripture that women were meant to seek the love portion, and men were meant to seek the respect portion. So vice versa, it probably may be the weakness, on both sides. So it takes each other to strengthen that. And that's also a big area of communication. People may say, I shouldn't have to tell you how I want to be loved. Not necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, or man, like, I shouldn't have to tell you, what respects look like. Not necessarily, because everyone is different. Every household is different. And so it's definitely something that it may not have to be talked about all the time, but it's definitely necessary. And it's something that you should definitely be working on all the time. It should be something that you're constantly saying, okay, is this, was that okay? Or being open to say, I probably could have did that differently, or maybe I'm slacking, and that comes even before marriage. Because I personally feel like, definitely if you're dating someone with a purpose, and that's not necessarily always the case, but if that is the case, then if you're dating with a purpose, the purpose, of course, should be marriage. And so these are things that I personally feel like there really isn't too much that you should not talk about prior to marriage that you would talk about in marriage. It should just kind of go hand in hand. You should be, understanding one another, working on these things, what that looks like, what this person may need in a wife, or what this person may need in a husband. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that you said that, and you're gonna have to get me that workbook. Like
yes.
I need to read that. But no, as you were talking, and let me read this comment really quick. Mom says respect is definitely necessary, and I agree. I agree. I think that respect is so important, and especially in today's time where I think back in the day, it was kind of that premise of women were working for equality, and we're still in certain instances working for that equality, but now it's more so that the woman has now found her voice. And so it's that thing of, since we're talking about conversations, it's more so that thing of, you can't expect a woman not to desire respect as well, and then you can't expect a man to his desire for respect to be dissipated just because like you're required. I think each party should make the same amount of effort. Now, will they be able to make the same amount of effort if they're having a bad day? Probably not, you know. But the
Mhm.
thing about it is, you have your good days and you have your bad days, and love covers a multitude of faults, which is what the
Mhm.
Word of God says. I came across this comment, and it was in on social media, and it was to something that someone else had said, but I did want to read it, and I because it kind of like, you know, it's mind-blowing for me, and I actually shared it in the 30 Single and Save group. And it said, you can respect someone you don't love, but you can't love someone you don't respect.
Mhm.
And that kind of like really spoke to me, because I was like, oh my gosh, you can, do you necessarily, you know, like love your boss, but you probably respect them, you know. Do you necessarily you know, respect everyone, you know, that's in your life, you know? I mean, but these people who mean, you know, a certain amount of, you know, maybe it's on a professional level or something like that. You might respect that person, but does that necessarily mean that you love them? No.
Right.
But if you love someone, then that respect definitely does have to be there. And also with respect, when you're having a conversation, honestly, if you respect someone, you're more apt to hear what they have to say,
Mhm.
and listen to what they have to say. But if you don't respect them, it's more so they can talk to their blue in the face, and you're never going to, you know, try to at least listen to what they have to say, because you don't respect that individual.
Mhm.
So I do think that that's important, and I do think that it's necessary in a relationship and a marriage as well.
Mhm. I agree. I
Um,
definitely agree.
so the next question is that what kinds of conversations are necessary to have before marriage?
Um, Personally, I think that it depends on the couple, you know, what's important to them. What Definitely what's important, you know, what's important to you, what's important to me, what should be priorities, you know. Um that's a big thing. I think another big thing that I see a lot is and what we also had with our marriage or prior to our marriage is blended families. So that's a huge thing that I personally feel like should be on the top of your list. And it doesn't necessarily have to be children, but I mean, that's definitely the top, but just what that's going to look like, you know, like even if it's like prior to being married, you know, you may be very you may have a lot of responsibilities to your family, you know, you may have a lot of responsibilities to your parents, to your siblings, whatever the case may be, you know, and so that's still blending, you know, that's still having that level of understanding what that will look like going into the marriage, you know, because that is one of the things that I definitely think changes, you know, once you get married. So what that will look like and just being prepared for that. But definitely children is huge, you know, just really having that conversation, like deep, you know, we talk about deep or in-depth conversations, you know, that's like a constant, you know, of what that looks like, what this looks like, trying things, you know, what works, what doesn't work, you know, what you grew up with, what I grew up with, you know, or what my expectation is, because like you said, as women, you know, we have a little bit, it's different, you know, the independence is there, and you know, we've some of us may have been raising children alone, you know, so having someone come in, what's my expectation of him and what's his expectation, you know, and how that works within our family, in our home, or what our home will be, and then the people who's outside the home that also impacts that, you know. So that's a big thing, that unfortunately I think it weighs a lot on relationships prior to marriage, and it actually is one of those things that people may decide not to, you know, because they don't really know how to make that work, and that's a conversation, you know, and maybe not just one. You may come to the table, like you said, at work, you may come to the table, you may have a meeting, everybody may not agree, doesn't mean that that's the end of it. You know, it just means like, okay, let's walk away. Let's think this through. I may have to meet you in the middle. You may have to meet me in the middle, you know, and then we just kind of keep seeing what works. So that will be definitely necessary. Finances, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. Is this person more finance conscious? Is this person more of the hands-on? You might see women who like to cut grass and stuff because they like to. It's like those type of conversations, and you can't concern yourself with somebody saying, why are they doing it like that? That's a conversation too. It's like, it's us. It's us. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, children, parents, otherwise. This is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. And if you know that you got each other's back, especially prior to marriage, then that will definitely help you on your journey in marriage, because it's a journey.
Yes, I love that you said that, because no two marriages are going to look exactly alike. And you talked about, how, the strengths and weaknesses, and also gender roles. Because, just because, it might be a female doesn't necessarily mean she loves cooking. Mm-hmm. But, and you said, who's going to cut the grass? Girl, I was outside cutting the grass yesterday. So I was like, but did I enjoy it? No, I did not. Did it have to be done? Yes, it did. So there are things, and you talked about the independent female and having to, just go on and kind of learn to let go of those reins and share them. And so I do think that all of those things are good things that need to be discussed, as well as what will happen in with one of them, because you talked about how there are sometimes roles in your families, not the blended family, but also the the families outside, moms, dads, maybe brothers and sisters and all of that. And so you have these other people that are in your families, and what is going to be your role in that? Are you willing, should it come to that, are you willing to take in, a parent? Are you willing to support, a sibling financially until they get on their feet? There's lots to talk about. And I think that a lot of those things, come afterwards, but there could be some I guess some template conversations that can go on prior to marriage. And I think that it's just it's up to that couple, and they should prioritize what conversations
write it down.
Yes definitely.
Definitely. If it comes to your mind, write it down, because it may not be that you may write something down and it could be pressing, but it may not be the right time. You got to have the right environment, the right time, but if you write it down, and if you have a journal or whatever the case may be, then it's on your heart, it's on your, you won't forget it, it's in your mind. And it's okay to, like you said, have a template, have conversation starters, that will work. Maybe you go out for dinner. I do that. I may do that. I used to do that all the time, until like now it's like, we talk, we just land, it just goes. But it's like, what are we going to talk about? What can we talk about? Just different things, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be intense. It could just be like, where do you want to travel? We go out to dinner with our kids and we play a game, like it's like I Spy, but it's like my favorites. And so I think both of us kind of like it when we guess each other's, because we've had those conversations. We know what we like. It doesn't always have to be some intense conversation. It could just be like, where you want to go? What's on your bucket list? And just being able to learn one another.
Yes, I love that. We're gonna have to talk more about that I Spy game. I like that. We do have a comment. Mom says you need to put everything out in the open before marriage so that there are no surprises later. Open and honest. Yeah, and I do agree with that. I definitely agree with just relaying everything. And also I'm huge on like writing it down so that I don't forget. Like I would say, like my memory sometimes is not the best. Like it fails me sometimes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be going through this. But I'm a huge, like if it's on my mind, then I'm like, okay, let me just like at least text it in my notes or write it down or something, so that I remember when there's when it comes a time for us to have a conversation, right?
Exactly.
So That's been my experience. And then the next comment, Auntie Kim says, you should talk about your expectations and what do you want out of the marriage, and how do we reach these things together. I love that. I love that. Yeah, because different people go into marriage for different reasons, and it's not always the same. You know, some people are getting married just to have children. Some people get married just so they can freely have sex. Some people get married just to have somebody by their side because they don't want to be alone. These are not valid reasons to get married. And so if you're not looking to build with someone with God at the head and the forefront, then your intentions for marriage are not really pure and true, you know, where you don't have the right intentions for marriage. So I do think that conversation needs to be had, and I'm glad Auntie brought that up, because what's the goal here? Like, why do you want to get married? And I mean, that's a conversation within itself. Talk about the reasons, and maybe you need to take some time to like sit back and express, or maybe even write down your reasons for wanting to get married. Because, you know, maybe you're not wanting to get married for the right reasons. So, you know, it's that self-reflection. I'm sorry.
Right. Or it's like, why do you want to marry me? You know, it's like, you might want to get married, but why me? You know, maybe I don't fit. Maybe, you know, why, you know, or vice versa, is to be like, you should be able to answer, like, why do you want to marry that in particular person? You know, what is it about them? You know, and it, like you said, if it's just about, you know, the institution of marriage, then that's not the right reason. You know, it's like, why that person? You know, that's how you can see, you know, if there will be longevity, if there'll be, you know, if this can possibly, hopefully work. You know, it's like, why that particular person? Because it could be anyone, you know, and it may be that may not be the right person. Like you said, you know, your expectations, you may have expectations, but maybe those expectations you can't get with the person you're dating, you know. So, you know, it's a tough thing, you know, it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's like, is this the person that I should be with? You know, or, you know, I may like you, you may be cute, but it don't mean it doesn't mean that, you know, that's the person that you're supposed to be married to.
Amen to that. I totally agree with that. And that's definitely a conversation that should be had. You know, why do you want to marry me? What is it that, you know, separates me from everybody else that you've dated, everybody else that you've been with? And why now? Are you ready? You know, and so we always talk about on 30 Single and Saved. Like, I always, you know, like, try to make sure that we're putting in, you know, like the spiritual portion. Okay, is this person the person that you're supposed to be with? And that conversation right there could actually, you know, really give a lot of answers and a lot of insight as to, you know, who you're with. Just asking that one question, like, why do you want to marry me? So I agree with that. Mom says a foolish person is a person that does not have respect or trust, but they say they love you.
Yep.
Yeah.
People say I love you, they just throw it around like it's nothing. Yep.
Yeah. So I agree with that. So we're gonna go on to the next question. We getting on into it, Candice. All right, here we go. Should these conversations wait until after the engagement, or should they be discussed prior to knowing if the marriage is the intention?
Prior. Like, why would, you know, that's what I'm saying. You know, like, it's like, why, when you're dating someone, and I, you know, I even share this with my daughters, you know, one's 23 and one's 20, you know, but when you're dating someone, what's the intention? You know, what's the purpose of it? And so things need to be discussed prior to engagement. I think a lot of women waiting and hoping, you know, and, you know, we use that at my job, you know, like, we have a ladder of accountability. Waiting and hoping is low. It's low on the ladder of accountability. You know, it's like, you're just waiting and hoping that he gonna propose. Why? What makes you think, you know, did you talk about that? Is that something that he wants? You know, and if it is something he wants, when? What's the time? You know what I mean? Like, we need, you know, and people always say, oh, you're young. No, there should be a timeline. Like, we're not, you know, time is precious, whether you're 20 or whether you're 40, you know. So what's the timeline? What does that look like? Where do you see yourself? How can we get there individually, and how can we get there as together? So I think that definitely don't wait until after the engagement. Um, because maybe there won't be an engagement. You know what I mean? Like, you could be dating a person that they're like, oh, I want to get married, and now you got to make a decision. Or I don't see myself doing that, no time soon, maybe 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, and some people may honestly answer that. And if somebody answers something and it's not the answer you were looking for, try not to take offense. It's their answer. Now it's just left in your court to act upon the response, or, if what can you see? Can you work with it? Maybe you can't, so definitely ask all the questions prior to engagement, and then you might get into some more in-depth questions, because it's like, okay, now we're on this road, this real road to getting married. Okay, so there are some other phase questions, that you may want to talk about, or what that looks like, and definitely, how you're fitting this in, because now this is not just you and this person, it's you, this person, and God. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because why, if your goal is to get married, then why date someone that don't have the same intentions? And no, every person that you date is not going to be the one. So their intentions could be to get married, but maybe you all aren't meant to be together. So there's that fact too. But yeah, I definitely think that important conversations definitely do need to be had prior to the engagement, prior to even getting serious with this person, because you definitely have to know if you all are on the same page, if you all want the same things, if you desire the same things, if you're going to be able to work together, because it's one thing to have fun together and to have a good time and all of that, but then what about the serious stuff? What about the paying of the bills? What about if one of you all were to get sick? What about having children? Do you all see raising children the same way? Are your values the same? Are you meeting each other halfway? Like, what is it? And so Mom says prior. Auntie Kim says yes before, because you need to know the plan. I always ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a starting point. Amen. And that right there will actually, thank you for your comments, ladies. That right there will actually clear up a lot. And I know that, from experience, look, when you're in a dating situation, and this particular person tells you what it is that they want and they need, don't take it lightly. If it does not align with what it is that you desire, then look, it's time to let that person go their own separate way and find what it is that's going to help them, and how so that they can be happy. Because honestly, a lot of times, I will say this, it's been known that women will give chance after chance after chance, thinking, trying to make this certain relationship work with this one person, when really and truly, you're trying to either change that person, or you're trying to change yourself to fit with that person, when really and truly, if you realize, like, that's actually God's way of telling you, like, no, this is not for you, and I got something for you, but you're trying to fit. And I was talking to my mom just the other day, and I said, a lot of times what happens is, there's this puzzle and you're putting it together, and all of a sudden you get to a piece, and you get to a piece that's not fitting in this particular space, and it's like, you can turn it, you can flip it over, you can do whatever, but if it's not fitting, it's not fitting. And that's how relationships are. Like, look, if it's not fitting with that person, look, it's not gonna fit. And the more time, and the more like energy that you put into it, look, that's time and energy that you could have taken and put into your relationship with God, so he could lead you and guide you. So this particular relationship may not be the one. So yeah, I definitely think that the conversations do need to be had prior, and then definitely prior to engagement, because you never know, like you said, never know. It may not get to engagement. It may not even get to that serious portion. Maybe that person, woman or man, is dating different people at the same time, and you just, and you're missing all of the, all of the, all the signs that that are trying, trying to tell you,
Right.
and warn you. Let's see, let's do this one. In a marriage, are deep in-depth conversations more difficult, easier, or the same as they were when you were dating?
Um, they should get easier, but not always. I mean, I guess it just kind of depends on your communication with one another. And just if you keep working on that and keep strengthening that, then they will get easier. If you're going into it with an open mind, if you're going into it from a place of love, a place of respect, then, all of those kind of go into it. So I would just say with time, I think emotions drive all of us. And so as we learn with wisdom and, knowledge to be able to control our emotions, which actually helps to control our tones, then those conversations get easier. But if you don't have that control, then they will be difficult because you're probably going to be on defensive, or whatever. Or like I said, you're going into it, with one expectation and something else may come out of it, and then you just don't want to hear it. So, yeah, I would say that it may not be the same as when you're dating. Me personally, I mean, we're married. That I don't. You definitely have a vow. You have a covenant with God. So you have to look at it. Definitely from a place of grace. Whatever the conversation may be or needs to be, or whatever the person may need to say. So you don't have those same vows to that person when you're not married, but when you are, you have to take all of that into consideration. And so that in itself should help to temper, keep your temperament of the conversation.
Right, right. I love that you said that because you mentioned, tone, and then at the end you mentioned the temperament.
Mhm.
I think that, that's one of the most important things because it kind of goes hand in hand with that respect factor. You don't want to, get to a place where you're disrespectful or anything like that. So you kind of, a person who is really, trying to relay what it is they want to say, they realize that tone is important. The formulation of the words when you're giving them is
Mhm.
important. And also the timing of the conversation is important.
Mhm.
If you know that that person is tired, they had a heck of a day, and you know that that they have that look, all they need to do is, I'm saying, eat, sleep, and I'm saying, that's it, like
Right,
and start again the next day.
right.
Look, that's it, the timing is not there. That might not be the right time to bring up one of those in-depth conversations. And so just, reading the room sometimes and just realizing, okay, well, this is important that I have this conversation, but it's also important that that person be in the right headspace when I do bring this topic up.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we talked about, the tone. You're gonna have a respectful tone if you love that person and you really don't want to try to, like, what is it, nitpick at them, or
Mhm.
poke that bear.
Mhm.
And also just the way that you say things is so important.
Mhm.
And if I can't stress that enough, the way that you relay whatever it is that you want to relay, those deep in-depth conversations, whatever it is, the way that you say it is important. So think about your words before you allow them to come out your mouth, because that's something I always talk about, time being something that you can't get back, but also your words, once they're out there, you cannot take those words back.
Nope.
Once they have been heard and once they have been felt, you cannot take those words back. So you have to, just be careful in those instances. So yeah, we have a couple of comments. It says it depends on the topic. Some are easier and some are harder. And over time, let's see, you definitely have to know each other in order to go into difficult conversations, and the timing, tone, and attitude. I agree. I definitely agree.
For sure.
Alrighty, let's see. In the in-depth conversations, is it possible to leave the conversation with resolution, or is it more common to have to revisit the conversation to find resolution?
I mean, it's possible to leave with a resolution. But if a resolution is not met, then you should definitely be open to revisiting. It shouldn't be the end all be all. Like, oh, we didn't come to an agreement, so that's the it. Definitely. Prior to marriage, you should definitely be practicing that. If that's something that that's something you probably want to work on. I don't necessarily want to say a red flag, but you want to say, like, we should be able to. We may not come to an agreement, but we are always going to be open to coming back to the table to revisit it, to come to some sort of compromise, to meet each other or get at least if we understand where both people are coming from, then we respect it, respect each other's feelings or whatever on the situation. But I think that it's possible to leave in an in-depth conversation with a resolution, because sometimes whoever is bringing it to the table may not know that it may be something that the other person's been thinking about anyway, So every conversation is not always met with debate. It could be like this person brings it up, this person may have been thinking about it, and then you both agree, or this person brings it up, maybe this person wasn't thinking about it, but you still both agree, so it's not always where you're at each other, it's definitely a lot of times, and you'll find where it's like, oh, we were thinking alike, or whatever the case may be, because that's definitely should be part of marriage. It's work every day, that you're working to learn one another. People change every day. People change with time, age, situations, whatever the case may be. People change. So you have to be open to evolving within your marriage, and, over time, still being able to have those key points, that keeps you, together and on one accord.
Right. I definitely agree. It's definitely possible to reach resolution, but it may not happen all in one conversation. And I'm going to tell on myself, oh my goodness, I'm one of those that, like, if it's something that, we're talking about, I definitely would love to reach that resolution, because, leaving it open, oh my goodness, I'm one of those, like, okay, we got to close, because if not, it could cause a bigger problem. And so just realizing, you guys are watching and you're like me, you get it, you understand, because it's that thing of, just having that closure of that conversation, so that we are free to start another one. But I will say something, sometimes it's not going to be resolved all in one sitting, all in one instance. And so let me see, we have a comment. Mom says, when a person does not want to visit it at all, red flags go up automatically. And I will say that, because at that point in time, if you're not willing to talk about it whatsoever, it's like, okay, there can't be any resolve. There's no resolution that can come from not talking about, whatever it is at all. So yeah, I definitely think that, at that point, definitely should be more open communication. But yeah, that's definitely a red flag. So the next question is, what advice would you give our singles about having conversations with their future spouses prior to marriage?
The biggest thing I would say is listen, that's a huge piece, is to be able to listen. You hear all the time, people may say you might hear someone, but are you listening? So that's the biggest advice that I have, is to listen, and listen with an open mind. you know, you may not have thought about it, but it may be a good idea, or, it may be a different approach, of a situation that you guys may be having, or, whatever the case may be. It's like, or, sometimes you have to submit, it's like sometimes you might, yeah, you just got to be like, okay, it's not, it shouldn't always be a tug of war. It shouldn't, and that goes for both sides, So the biggest thing I would say is just kind of listening and being open um, to what the person has to say. And that way, then, like we said, then there's that respect. So that person should be more apt to be open to what you have to say, and then that should help the communication with one another prior to and going into marriage and growing in the marriage. Is like, once again, it's like that tone. But if you always come to the table like, nope, I don't want it, I don't like it, I ain't doing it, or whatever. So then it's like, okay, sometimes with a conversation, like we said, it's two people, in it. Maybe not, but if you feel like you're the only person doing all the talking, then like your mom said, is it just that the person doesn't care enough, to talk about it? Or is it that maybe your tone maybe puts the person on the defensive, that they're like, I ain't gonna say nothing because nothing's gonna get across. They're not gonna listen, So all of that has to go into it, and you have to be conscious. We're only one person, so it's really the big thing I would say is try to learn to think outside of you. You're you, yeah, but think outside of that, because that's how you take someone else into consideration, is being open to what they have to say.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. And yeah, you basically like said it all. Like really nothing else I can say to that, because honestly, that's totally true. I love the listening portion, because more people should, and even I can learn to listen a lot more in conversations. And we always, what's the old saying? It says, you have one mouth and two ears for a reason. You should listen more than you want to speak and relay your thoughts and your opinions on things. And so I definitely do. I definitely agree with that. We have some. I think we have only one more question left, but I want to say that we have a comment as well. So here we go. Listen and have an open mind and be understanding. And I agree with that. Definitely. Definitely. And that can change the dynamic of the conversation that you're having as well. Because, like you said, you don't want to go into the conversation, always like, just guard it or anything like that. And you also don't want the other person to feel like they have to come into the conversation guarded. But it depends on, you have to choose. And Lord have mercy, in college they had the RA training. It was, you have to choose your attitude. Well, I mean, here I am years later, and here it is again. But that is so true. You have the power to choose your attitude. You have the power to, literally, you have control of you. And so can you, what I'm saying, can you control the way that, you relay messages? Yes, you can. Can you control the way that you speak to someone? Yes, you can. Can you control your tone? Yes, you can. Do you want to, though?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the key.
You have to, yeah, you have to definitely desire to, what I'm saying, like, go in with an open mind, but also, like you were saying, definitely you have to listen to the other person. And that's the only way you can get an understanding, a clear understanding, because a lot of misunderstandings happen when it's just you wanted to speak and get your stuff out, and then whenever that person is talking, you're not hearing,
right,
you're just responding.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely, I love that, Candice. Our last question of the evening says, what is something that you learned over time that you wish you had have known prior to marriage?
I would say probably how impactful someone's upbringing can be in their way of thinking, as in their day-to-day lives, how this is how I was raised, or this is what I've seen, or this is what I believe. All of those things are they impact their everyday lives, and when you become married, there's no way around them not impacting yours. So you have to make concessions or adopt certain things or try out certain things, or have a level of understanding. So that's what I would say, is just sometimes we may not go through things in our lives, but somebody else goes through them in theirs, and so we don't understand how impactful that is, whether it's all the way back down to parenting or maybe prior relationships, whatever the case may be. It's just really having an understanding of a person, who they are, what makes them who they are. And, it's so much that goes into that makes you, and a lot of it has to do with your experiences, things that you've experienced, things that you've learned, that you've heard, like I said, and a lot of times we don't even know how much they impact us, like parenting, or our parents raising us. And we don't realize a lot of times how much we've taken, adopted, and just because that was our way, it may not be, their way, and I think that that's the big thing. That's a big thing with me and my husband, that a lot of times, we see it. Sometimes we bring it up, sometimes we don't, or we may share, how you were raised, how I was raised. And it doesn't mean that is going to, everything's going to come into our marriage, but it's just good to know. Because then it gives you a better understanding of maybe why somebody does the things that they do, or why they haven't done the things, like you said earlier, a person may not have gotten married because maybe they never saw it. Maybe they don't even know what it looks like. They don't even know what that looks like. So that you have to take into consideration. And I, just if I, would have put more thought into that prior to marriage, then maybe I would have, not have as many times where I may have been more frustrated, or maybe feeling like, why we can't, agree on this, because sometimes it's certain things that we don't realize how embedded they are in us. Just layers on layers, and it's just like uncovering those layers.
That's awesome. That's good right there. And like I said, like you covered it all. I cannot. Oh my goodness. And I'm definitely, praying that everyone's taking notes and that they have been blessed. That was our last question for tonight. And Candice, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Just a lot of food for thought, a lot of, what I'm saying, like literally meat to digest, because this is one of the topics that I don't see a lot, but it's definitely important to know what conversations need to be had prior to the relationship and even marriage. So yes, thank you so much for joining us on tonight. I really appreciate you and you guys make sure that you give her some hearts. All right, let's show her some love on tonight, you guys. Some 30 Single and Saved love. And yes, that's all that we have on tonight. I know that we have some announcements, and I did want to give you a chance, Candice. Can you reiterate how they can support you? And then I have your flyer here, so I'm going to put it up while you're speaking.
Okay. So yep, I have the main thing is our Facebook platform, which is Drink to Shrink with Candice. And so we have a Facebook group, and you can answer a few questions, and then you will be entered into our group. And that's the main way to get information about the products. We do have the healthylivingwithcandice.com. Also where you can go on the website and get some information about it. If you would like to place an order, you can inbox me on Facebook Messenger, and I can also send you some information about it that way as well. But that's definitely the way to support. And then again, like we said, my husband is Chair 1933, and he's at in Chicago, but 2320 West 95th Street. And so he you can definitely reach out to me, and then I can forward the information on to you as well. Just his phone number and things like that. And then he also has an Instagram page, Chair 1933, where he displays his work.
Awesome. It's just an awesome family all together, and I love you guys so much. And I know I say that a lot, but look, I really do. And so I just do hope that you all will go ahead. I put the website in the comments. You guys, if you're looking for a natural way to shed some pounds, that is not going to give you, this ultimate high and then this drop down. It's not going to do any of that. All right, it's natural. It curves your appetite, curves your cravings, all of that. You guys make sure that you shop with Candice, all right? Drink to Shrink. And please make sure that you guys, if you can, if you're in the Chicagoland area, look, make sure that you make an appointment. Don't just be stopping by. He don't know you like that. But look, make an appointment, all right? Contact Lynn, Chair 1933. And then we also have some announcements here. Next Tuesday, we will be live like every Tuesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. Our special guest is Beth Bills. We will be talking about domestic violence next week. And so please make sure that you guys join us next Tuesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. And like I said before, we definitely... we are live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Please make sure that you join 30 Single and Saved. If there is anything that we can do for you all, please make sure that you reach out and let us know. Also, our next announcement, I'm going to keep it 30 Single and Saved base just for a second. You guys know that we are in our 31 prayers for my future husband challenge. It is going on throughout the month of May. Of course, today is May 10th, so we're on the 10th day. And we encourage that all of our single ladies to take the challenge, accept the challenge, but not only that, our married ladies as well, we encourage you all to pray for your husbands, your current husbands, because you can never have too much prayer. All right, so we encourage you all to do that. If you need more information about the prayer challenge, the future husband prayer challenge, you can go to the 30 Single and Saved page, and all of that information, all of the posts are there. Every single day at 6 a.m. there is a post made on the prayer focus for that day. All right, so I want to encourage you all to make sure that you check that out on the 30 Single and Saved page and also the 30 Single and Saved group. We are on YouTube. We are live on YouTube tonight. YouTube is acting out, okay? We got some people that's trying to, get through it, which is why I was looking down. I'm handling some stuff, you guys. But nonetheless, you guys go make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, 30 Single and Saved, all right? And also, tomorrow night, Unity Fellowship Church will be live with Bible study at 7 p.m. So you guys govern yourselves accordingly. This Saturday, we have church school at 10 a.m. like every Saturday, Facebook Live and on YouTube. And then Sunday morning worship at 11 a.m. And that is Unity Fellowship Church. And also we have Kicking It With the Family. Kicking It With the Family will be live this Sunday at 6 p.m. All right, you guys. So make sure that you come kick it with us. We'll be live Facebook and YouTube as well. If you like laughs, if you like to just have a good time, if you need something that's going to be a de-stressor, go ahead and log in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Where we act crazy, we really enjoy each other, but most of all, we're just kicking it. And so we invite you all to be a part of our family every Sunday at 6 p.m. All right, you guys. If we have any more announcements, we'll put them on the page. And that is our show tonight. Candice, do you have any closing remarks?
No, that's it. It's been a great time. I had a good time, and as always, and just thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Loved having you on tonight. We thank you again. We appreciate your love and support of the ministry as well. All right, you guys, that is all we have on tonight. All right, I want you guys to be blessed. Please pray one for the other. All right, and that's how we get our strength. All right, so, and also if you're doing the prayer challenge and you have not, um, if you have not stayed on track, it's okay. You can get back on track. All you got to do is start right where you ended. All right, and continue on. All right, you guys. So you all be encouraged. I love you, and we're gonna see you next Tuesday. All right, y'all. Good night.
All right.